Cash is king, but it's also a lot more expensive than you think. You probably heard folks talk about credit card fees for businesses before, and some of these fees can be as high as 3% of the transaction value. And when you're in a low margin industry like the restaurant business, 3, 2, even 1% can be a huge deal. But despite that, cash payments aren't necessarily the magical solution they might seem like. First, there's the extra time involved in accepting cash payments these days. First, the customer has to fish the cash out of their wallet, they have to count out their cash, then your staff has to count out the cash, they have to count out the change. All of that takes a lot longer than just tapping a credit card. If you're in the quick service restaurant industry, serving customers quickly matters. You are literally playing a game of seconds in many situations. Those 30 extra seconds the customer has to spend in line could be the difference between them eating in your restaurant or the one next door. Let's do an example. An urban McDonald's location in the United States will gross about $4 million a year. That's just under $11,000 a day. And if the restaurant was open for a full 24 hours a day, that's $458 an hour in sales, which means those 30 seconds could be costing you $382 in sales. Now, the exact gross margin can differ a lot, but if we assume the restaurant makes about 65% gross margin after food costs, that means you're losing out on $2.48 in gross profit to pay for things like rent and utilities. Now let's compare that opportunity cost of $2.48 with the cost of accepting credit cards. Now if we assume an average order size of $8 and a relatively high swipe fee of 3%, then that transaction is going to cost the restaurant 24 cents. And that means as high as those fees might be, it could still be about 10 times less expensive to accept credit cards. And that doesn't even include some of the other costs of accepting cash. Theft from external parties or even employees can be a big problem. And then there's all the time it takes to reconcile cash, count cash, and prepare cash for deposit. There's also a lot of research that shows that customers are willing to spend a lot more money when they're using credit cards. One MIT study showed that participants were willing to spend up to 100% more on items when they were paying with credit cards versus cash. And that's why cash payments can be really expensive for businesses, even if there aren't any explicit fees.